What happens when a wife announces she needs space for personal growth and her husband discovers she spent the night with her ex-boyfriend within hours? How does a betrayed spouse respond when his wife claims the affair was part of her healing journey and frames his pain as controlling behavior? Can a marriage survive when one partner weaponizes therapy language to justify infidelity and the other responds with silent legal precision? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. The kitchen smelled like burned toast that Tuesday morning. I had been distracted, scrolling through Instagram while the bread browned too dark in the toaster. Ian was at the table helping Lily with her breakfast, cutting her waffle into small squares the way she liked. Our 3-year-old Ollie was in his high chair, smearing yogurt across the tray with both hands. It was the perfect moment to say what I had been rehearsing for weeks. I told Ian we needed to talk about something important. He looked up, concern immediate in his eyes. That was typical of Ian. Always worried, always cautious, always so careful with everything. It was exhausting. I said I had been doing a lot of self-reflection lately, and I realized I needed to take a break from the marriage. Not a separation exactly, just some space to reconnect with who I really was before I became a wife and mother. I explained that I felt like I had lost myself in our relationship, that I needed to honor my authentic self and explore what it meant to live fully present in my own truth. Ian set down Lily's plate slowly. He asked what I meant by a break. His voice was quiet, measured, like he was trying not to scare me away with too much reaction. I said I meant exactly that. A break, some time to breathe, to remember who Narissa was outside of being Mrs. Hale. I told him that marriage had become suffocating, that I felt like I was living someone else's life instead of my own. I said I needed to reconnect with my passions, my creativity, my sensuality. I used the word sensuality deliberately, watching to see if he would understand the implication. He asked if I was saying I wanted a divorce. I said no, not divorce, just space. Maybe I would stay with my friend Jade for a few nights, maybe a week, just to clear my head and do some deep personal work. Ian asked what had brought this on so suddenly. I told him it was not sudden, that I had been feeling this way for months, but did not know how to articulate it until recently. I said my therapist. I did not actually have a therapist, but Ian did not need to know that, had helped me realize I needed to prioritize my own healing journey. Lily looked between us with wide eyes. She asked if Mommy was leaving. I smiled at her and said Mommy was just going to have some sleepovers with Aunt Jade so she could feel better. Lily asked why Mommy needed to feel better. I said sometimes grown-ups needed time alone to recharge their energy. Ian said he wished I had talked to him about this before making a decision. I told him that was exactly the problem. I should not need his permission to take care of myself. I said the fact that he was trying to control my process proved how much I needed this break. He said he was not trying to control anything. He was just confused and hurt. I said his hurt was valid, but it could not be my responsibility right now. I needed to focus on my own emotional well-being, and if he really loved me, he would support that. Ian was quiet for a long time. Lily had stopped eating and was watching us carefully. Ollie banged his spoon on the tray, oblivious to the tension. Finally, Ian asked when I planned to go. I said probably tonight, that I'd already texted Jade, and she said I could stay with her as long as I needed. He asked if I had packed. I said no, I would do it this afternoon. He nodded slowly and went back to cutting Lily's waffle, but his hands were shaking slightly. I felt a surge of power mixed with guilt, but I pushed the guilt away. This was about me. This was about reclaiming my identity. Ian would be fine. He was always fine. I left for work. If you could call teaching 2 yoga classes and updating my wellness blog work, feeling lighter than I had in months. I had done it. I had claimed my space. I had set a boundary. All the empowerment podcasts I had been listening to had prepared me for this moment, and I had executed it perfectly. At the wellness center where I taught, I went through the first class on autopilot. Jade was there, taking the class in the back row like she always did. Afterward, she pulled me aside and asked how it went. I told her I had done it, that I had told Ian I needed space. She hugged me and said she was so proud of me for honoring my needs. During my break between classes, I checked my phone. There was a message from River. River Quinn had been my boyfriend in college, before I met Ian. We had dated for 2 years, before he moved to pursue photography opportunities in different cities. We had stayed friendly over the years, mostly through social media, but recently, we had been messaging more frequently. It had started innocently enough. He commented on one of my blog posts about finding your authentic self, and we started talking about personal growth and spiritual awakening and all the things Ian never seemed to understand. River's message said he was thinking about me and hoped I was having a beautiful day. I felt my heart flutter. I replied that I had just taken a big step toward my freedom and that I felt amazing. He sent back a heart emoji and said he would love to hear about it if I wanted to meet up. I told him I was staying with Jade tonight, but maybe we could get coffee tomorrow. He said actually, if I wanted to talk tonight, I could come by his apartment. He said he knew it was sudden, but that sometimes the universe aligned things for a reason. I stared at that message for a long time. I knew what it meant. I knew what I was doing, but I told myself this was part of my journey, part of reconnecting with who I was before marriage and motherhood had consumed my identity. I told him I would be there around 8. The rest of the day passed in a blur. I taught my second class, went home to pack an overnight bag and barely spoke to Ian. He was in the living room with the kids, building blocks with Ollie while Lily coloured at the coffee table. He asked if I wanted to stay for dinner. I said no, that I needed to get going. He asked where I was going. I said to Jade's, like I had told him. Lily asked when I would be back. I said probably tomorrow or the next day. She asked if I would tuck her in tonight. I said Daddy would do it, and that it would be a special daddy-daughter night. She looked like she might cry, but I kissed her forehead quickly and left before the guilt could stop me. I drove to River's apartment with my hands tight on the steering wheel, my mind racing with justifications. I was not doing anything wrong. I was just reconnecting with an old friend. I needed this kind of connection. Someone who understood the spiritual side of life. Someone who valued growth and authenticity over routine and obligation. River's apartment was exactly what I expected. Eclectic, artistic, full of plants and photographs and musical instruments. He opened the door, wearing linen pants and a soft t-shirt, his hair longer than it had been in college, pulled back in a small bun. He smiled that easy smile I remembered, and pulled me into a hug that lasted just a beat too long. He poured us wine, and we sat on his couch talking about everything. My marriage, my feelings of suffocation, his recent travels, his philosophy on relationships and freedom. He said he had always known I was too vibrant to be contained by conventional structures. He said marriage was designed to control women, to make them small and manageable. He said I deserved to be wild and free and fully expressed. Every word felt like validation, like permission. When he touched my hand, I did not pull away. When he leaned closer, I leaned in too. When he kissed me, I kissed him back. I told myself this was reclaiming my sexuality. This was honoring my needs. This was self-care. We moved to his bedroom, and I pushed away every thought of Ian, of Lily, of Ollie. I focused on feeling alive, on feeling wanted, on feeling like myself again. Afterward, lying in River's bed, staring at his ceiling, I felt a strange mix of exhilaration and numbness. He said that was beautiful, that I was beautiful, that he had missed me. I said I had missed him too, even though I had barely thought about him in years until recently. I checked my phone. It was after midnight. There were 3 texts from Ian, asking if I was okay. if I had made it to Jade safely, if I needed anything. I replied that I was fine, that I was with Jade and needed him to give me space and trust me. He replied immediately, "I trust you. I love you. Take care of yourself." I felt a pang of something I did not want to name. River asked if I wanted to stay the night. I said no, that I should probably get to Jade's in case Ian tried to call. He said he understood, but that he hoped I would come back soon. I said I would. I drove to Jade's apartment in a daze. She answered the door in her pajamas and let me in without questions. I told her I had been with River. She raised her eyebrows but said nothing, just hugged me and told me she supported me no matter what. I fell asleep on her couch, my phone clutched in my hand, feeling both powerful and hollow. The next morning, I woke up to a notification on my phone. It was from our shared family tablet, the one we kept in the living room for the kids to watch shows, and for Ian and me to share calendars and photos. A text preview had synced across devices before being deleted. "Last night was amazing. I missed you." Ah. I stared at it, my heart pounding. Had Ian seen it? Had it shown up on his phone too? I quickly opened my messages with River and deleted the entire thread. Then I blocked his number temporarily, just to make sure nothing else came through. I would unblock him later, once I figured out what to tell Ian if he asked. But when I got home that afternoon, Ian was in the guest room with his laptop. He looked up when I came in, his face unreadable. He asked how I was feeling. I said better, that I had gotten some good rest. He nodded and went back to his laptop. I asked if everything was okay. He said yes, everything was fine. He said the kids missed me. I said I missed them too. He did not mention the text. He did not ask where I had really been. He just closed his laptop carefully and said he was going to start dinner. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I felt a creeping sense of unease, like something had shifted that I could not quite see yet. That night, after the kids were asleep, I lay in bed alone. Ian had moved a pillow and blanket to the guest room, saying he did not want to disturb me if I needed space. And I told myself I had done nothing wrong. I had prioritized my needs. I had honored my authentic self. Ian would understand eventually, once he did his own work and realized that relationships required freedom and trust. I fell asleep convincing myself of this, my phone dark and silent on the nightstand. What I did not know was that Ian had seen the text preview. He had screenshot it before it disappeared. And he was in the guest room at that very moment, scrolling through every message I had ever sent on that tablet, finding months of flirtation with River, finding the exact timeline that proved I had slept with my ex-boyfriend the same night I asked for a break to find myself. But I did not know any of that yet. I was still convinced I was the protagonist of my own healing journey. I would not understand the cost of that belief until it was far too late. I woke up to the sound of Ian making breakfast in the kitchen. The smell of coffee drifted down the hallway, and for a moment, everything felt normal. Then I remembered. I had asked for a break. I had slept with River. I had come home like nothing had happened. I got out of bed and found Ian at the stove making pancakes for the kids. Lily was already dressed for school, sitting at the table with her backpack beside her chair. Ollie was in his high chair, chewing on a piece of banana. Ian glanced at me and asked if I wanted coffee. His voice was neutral, almost pleasant. I said yes. He poured me a cup and set it on the counter, not handed it to me, just set it down, then went back to flipping pancakes. I asked if he had slept okay. He said he had slept fine. I asked if the kids had been up early. He said Lily had a bad dream around 3, so he had sat with her until she fell back asleep. He said it matter-of-factly, without accusation, but I felt a spike of guilt anyway. Lily asked if I was staying home today. I said no, that I had some work to do. She asked when I would be home. I said probably for dinner. Ian said nothing. After breakfast, Ian offered to take Lily to school since he was already dressed and ready. I said that would be helpful. He packed her lunch, grabbed her backpack, and called for her to come to the car. She hugged me goodbye, holding on a little longer than usual. I told her to have a good day and that Mommy loved her very much. After they left, I was alone with Ollie. He was still in his high chair, banging his sippy cup on the tray and babbling. I cleaned up the breakfast dishes, feeling oddly deflated. This was supposed to be my time to focus on myself, to feel free and empowered. Instead, I just felt tired. I checked my phone. River had sent another message, from a different number, since I had temporarily blocked his original one. He said he could not stop thinking about last night. He said I was a goddess, and that being with me reminded him why conventional relationships could never contain real passion. I felt a small thrill reading it. This was what I needed. Someone who saw me as I really was, not just as a mother or a wife, but as a full, sensual, spiritual being. I replied that I had felt the same, that being with him had reminded me of who I was before I had buried myself in domesticity. He asked when he could see me again. I said soon, that I needed to figure out the logistics with Ian first. River said Ian seemed like the type who would never truly understand me. I agreed. That evening, Ian came home from work looking exhausted. He taught middle school science, and I knew the students could be difficult, but he usually handled it with patience. Tonight, though, he looked like he had aged 5 years in one day. He asked if I had made dinner. I said no, that I had been busy with work. He nodded and started pulling ingredients out of the fridge. I asked if he wanted help. He said no, he had it covered. While he cooked, I took Ollie into the living room to play. Lily came in from her room, where she had been colouring, and asked if we could watch a show on the tablet. I said sure and handed it to her. She tried to open it, but it asked for a password. She said it never asked for a password before. I called to Ian in the kitchen and asked if he had put a password on the tablet. He said yes, that he thought it would be good to have better security on our devices. He said the password was the kids' birthdays combined. I felt a small jolt of suspicion, but pushed it away. Ian was probably just being overly cautious, as usual. After dinner, after the kids were in bed, I found Ian in the guest room again. His laptop was open, and he was typing something. When I came in, he minimized the window quickly. I asked what he was working on. He said just grading papers. I sat on the edge of the bed. I told him I appreciated him being so understanding about my need for space. He said he was trying his best. I said I knew this was hard for him, but that it was important for my personal growth. He nodded but said nothing. I asked if he was okay. He looked at me for a long moment, and something in his expression made my stomach tighten. Then he asked where I had really been 2 nights ago. I felt my face flush. I said I had been at Jade's, like I told him. He said he had called Jade's apartment around 9, and Jade said I had not arrived yet. He said he had waited until midnight to hear from me, and I had not texted him until after 12:30. I told him he was being paranoid, that I had stopped to pick up some things at the store and lost track of time. He asked what store was open until midnight. I said the 24-hour pharmacy. He asked what I had bought. I said just some personal items and that I did not appreciate being interrogated. He reached over to his nightstand and picked up his phone. He opened something and turned the screen toward me. It was a screenshot of a text message. Last night was amazing. I missed you. Ah. My mouth went dry. I asked where he got that. He said it came through on the shared tablet before someone deleted it. He asked who R was. I tried to think fast. I said it was a message for someone else, that the tablet must have synced wrong with someone else's account. He said that was not possible. The tablet was only linked to my number. He asked again who R was. I felt cornered. I told him I did not appreciate his accusations, that he was violating my privacy by reading my messages. He said he was not trying to violate anything. He was trying to understand why his wife was receiving messages like that, hours after asking for a break from their marriage. I stood up, angry now. I told him that this was exactly why I needed space, because he was suffocating me with his suspicion and control. I said he clearly did not trust me, which proved how damaged our relationship was. I said I had every right to have friendships, to have connections outside of our marriage, and that if he could not handle that, then maybe we needed more than just a break. He asked if I was having an affair. His voice was quiet, almost gentle. I said no, I was not having an affair. I said I was exploring my authentic self and reconnecting with people who understood spiritual growth, and if he wanted to make that into something sordid, that was his issue to work through. He stared at me for a long time. Then he said he had gone through the tablet messages, all of them, going back months. He said he had read every conversation I had with River Quinn. He said he had seen the escalation from friendly to flirtatious to explicit. He said he knew exactly what had happened that night. I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. I started to speak, to explain, to justify, but he held up his hand. He said he did not want to hear it right now. He said he needed time to think. He said he was not going to yell or fight or make a scene, because that would not help anything. He said he just needed me to be honest about one thing. Had I slept with River the night I asked for a break? I could have lied. I should have lied. But something in his face made me tell the truth. I said yes, I had been with River. But I explained that it was not what it looked like, that it was part of my healing process, that I needed to reconnect with my sexuality and my sense of self outside of our marriage. I said that Ian's emotional repression had made me feel invisible, and River had helped me remember I was still a vibrant, sensual woman. I said it was actually a form of self-care. Ian's expression did not change. He just nodded slowly and said he understood. Then he asked me to leave the room so he could finish his work. I left, feeling shaken and angry and confused. How dare he make me feel guilty for prioritizing my own needs? How dare he frame my personal growth as betrayal? I went to our bedroom and called Jade. I told her what happened. She was quiet for a moment, then asked if I had really slept with River the same night I asked Ian for space. I said yes, but that it was complicated and spiritual and not something conventional people would understand. She said she was not judging, but that maybe I should have waited a bit longer, that the timing looked really bad. I hung up feeling defensive. Even Jade did not fully understand. I checked my phone. River had sent another message asking how things were going. I told him Ian found out. He said he was sorry, but that ultimately this was freeing, that now I did not have to hide who I really was. I said I was not sure yet what this meant. He said it meant I was one step closer to living authentically. I fell asleep alone in our bed, hearing the faint sound of Ian's laptop keyboard clicking from the guest room. The next morning, Ian took Lily to school again. When they left, I went into the guest room to see if I could figure out what he had been working on. His laptop was closed and password protected, but on the desk I saw a new folder he had not had before. Just a manila folder labeled Household. I opened it carefully. Inside were printed screenshots, messages between me and River, time-stamped, dated, organized chronologically, highlighted sections where River encouraged me to leave my limiting relationship, highlighted sections where I complained about feeling trapped in motherhood, highlighted sections where we planned to meet up. There was also a handwritten timeline on a piece of notebook paper. It showed the date I asked for a break, the date of my first night away, the timestamp of River's text message, the approximate time I came home. Ian was documenting everything. I felt a cold wave of fear wash over me. This was not the reaction of a man who was going to forgive and forget. This was the reaction of a man who was preparing for something. I put everything back exactly how I found it and left the room. That afternoon, when Ian came home from work, I tried to talk to him. I said we needed to discuss what happened, that we needed to process this together. He said he agreed, but that he needed a few more days to think clearly. I asked what he needed to think about. He said everything. I told him I was sorry if I hurt him, but that I needed him to understand I was on a journey of self-discovery, and that sometimes that journey meant doing things that others might not understand. He said he heard me. Then he went to play with Ollie in the living room. That evening, while I was putting Lily to bed, she asked me why Daddy seemed so sad. I told her Daddy was just tired from work. She said it was not that kind of sad. It was the kind of sad that made his eyes look empty. I told her not to worry about grown-up things, and I kissed her goodnight. When I came out of her room, Ian was in the hallway. He said he was going to sleep in the guest room again tonight, and probably for the foreseeable future. I asked if he was punishing me. He said no, he was just creating the space I said I needed. The way he said it, so calm, so measured, scared me more than yelling would have. I went to bed alone, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I had made a terrible mistake. But no, I pushed that thought away. I had done nothing wrong. I had honored my needs. Ian was the one who could not handle a woman claiming her power. I fell asleep telling myself that, even as a small voice in the back of my mind whispered that I had destroyed something I might never be able to repair. 2 days later, I met Jade at a coffee shop downtown. I needed to talk to someone who understood, someone who would not judge me for choosing myself. Jade had always been supportive of my personal growth journey. She was a life coach after all. She understood that sometimes transformation required bold choices. We sat on the patio, surrounded by the sounds of traffic and conversation. I ordered an oat milk latte with adaptogenic mushrooms. Jade got a green smoothie. I felt better just being away from the house, away from Ian's quiet judgment. I told Jade everything, the full details of that night with River, how alive I had felt, how I finally remembered who I was before marriage and motherhood had consumed me. She listened carefully, nodding, but I could tell something was off. She was not as enthusiastically supportive as I expected. I asked if she thought I was wrong. She said she was not here to judge, but that she was concerned about the timing. She said asking for a break and immediately sleeping with an ex-boyfriend sent a pretty clear message about what the break was really for. I felt defensive. I said the timing was irrelevant because my decision to be with River was about reclaiming my autonomy, not about betraying Ian. I said Ian was making it about betrayal because he was emotionally stunted and could not handle a woman who owned her sexuality. Jade asked how Ian was handling it. I said he was being cold and distant, that he had moved into the guest room and was barely speaking to me. I said he was documenting everything, like he was building a case against me, which proved how controlling he was. Jade said that actually, it sounded like Ian was protecting himself, which was pretty reasonable given what happened. I asked whose side she was on. She said she was on the side of honesty, and that maybe I needed to take responsibility for how my actions were affecting my family. I told her I did not come here to be lectured. She said she was not lecturing, she was being real with me, which was what real friends did. Before I could respond, I noticed the woman at the table next to us was listening. She was not even pretending to look at her phone anymore. She was just openly watching us. I glared at her, and she looked away quickly. I told Jade we should lower our voices. She said maybe we should, or maybe I should think about why I did not want people to hear what I was saying. That stung. We finished our coffees in awkward silence. When we left, Jade hugged me and said she loved me, but that she really hoped I would think about what I was doing. I said I had been thinking about nothing else. She said she meant think about the kids, think about Ian, think about what I was willing to lose for this journey. I drove home feeling more alone than ever. Even my best friend did not understand. That evening, I posted something on Instagram. Just a quote I had seen on a self-help account about choosing yourself and honoring your truth, even when others could not understand. The caption read, "Growth requires courage. Not everyone will get it. That's okay." Within an hour, it had dozens of likes and comments. My mother commented saying she was proud of me. Several yoga students commented saying I was inspiring. River commented with a fire emoji. Ian did not comment. Ian did not even follow my Instagram anymore. I checked, and he had quietly unfollowed me at some point in the last few days. That felt like a bigger rejection than anything he had said out loud. That Saturday, my mother was hosting a birthday party for my niece Lily's cousin. It was at a family restaurant with a long table reserved for about 20 people. My mother Celeste, my brother Owen and his wife, various aunts and uncles and cousins, and me and Ian and the kids. I did not want to go. I knew it would be awkward, but my mother had insisted, saying family was important and that we needed to show up for each other. I convinced myself it would be fine. Ian and I could put on a united front for a few hours, but from the moment we arrived, I could tell it was going to be bad. Ian was polite but distant, greeting everyone with a small smile that did not reach his eyes. He stuck close to the kids, helping Lily color, while Ollie ate chicken nuggets with his hands. I sat at the other end of the table, talking to my mother about my wellness blog. My mother asked how I was doing. I said I was good, that I had been doing a lot of inner work lately. She said she had noticed my Instagram posts and that she was proud of me for prioritizing my spiritual growth. I felt validated. Then she asked how Ian was handling everything. I said he was struggling a bit, that he was having a hard time with me taking space for myself. She nodded sympathetically and said men often felt threatened when women reclaimed their power. I saw Ian glance over at us. Our eyes met briefly before he looked away. Halfway through the party, my brother Owen pulled me aside. He was younger than me by 4 years, an accountant with a practical streak that had always annoyed me. He asked if we could talk outside for a minute. I said sure. We stood in the parking lot, and he asked me what was really going on. I said what did he mean. He said he meant with me and Ian, because Ian looked like he was barely holding it together, and I looked like I did not care. I told him he was misreading the situation, that Ian and I were just working through some things. Owen said he had run into Ian at the grocery store yesterday, and Ian had looked so exhausted and sad that Owen almost did not recognize him. Owen said Ian had mentioned they were going through a rough patch, but would not elaborate. I said it was none of Owen's business. He said it became his business when it involved his nieces and nephew, because kids did not deserve to suffer because their parents could not get their act together. I felt my face flush. I told him he had no idea what he was talking about, that I was doing what was best for everyone by refusing to stay in an inauthentic relationship. He asked if I was really trying to frame cheating on my husband as some kind of spiritual awakening. I asked who told him that. He said no one had to tell him anything. It was obvious from my Instagram posts and the way I was acting that something major had happened, and that Ian's reaction suggested it was not something small. I told Owen to stay out of it. He said he wished he could, but that he cared too much about Ian and the kids to watch me destroy the family. I walked back inside, shaking with anger. How dare he judge me? How dare he act like I was the villain when I was just trying to live authentically? When I got back to the table, I saw Celeste talking to Ian. She had her hand on his arm, and she was saying something in a low voice. Ian was nodding politely, but looked deeply uncomfortable. When she finished, he thanked her and moved back to where Lily was sitting. I asked my mother what she said to him. She said she just told him that marriage required compromise and flexibility, and that sometimes people needed space to grow. I asked if she was telling him to just accept what I was doing. She said she was telling him to trust the process of my transformation. I felt grateful for her support, even though part of me knew she was enabling me. Near the end of the party, while we were cutting the birthday cake, Lily's voice cut through the chatter. She asked loudly, clearly, "Daddy, why doesn't Mommy sleep at home anymore?" The entire table went silent. Everyone turned to look at us. Lily was standing next to Ian, holding his hand, looking up at him with genuine confusion. I felt my face burn. Ian knelt down to Lily's level and said quietly that Mommy was just having some sleepovers with Aunt Jade so she could have some quiet time. Lily asked why Mommy needed quiet time. Ian said sometimes grown-ups needed a little break, but that both Mommy and Daddy loved her very much. I saw Owen watching me with an unreadable expression. I saw my mother looking concerned. I saw several relatives exchanging glances. I forced a laugh and said that yes, Mommy was just taking a little break to recharge, and that it was all very normal and healthy. Ian said nothing. He just stood up, picked up Ollie, and walked over to get a piece of cake for Lily. The party continued, but the damage was done. People knew something was wrong now. And instead of feeling ashamed, I felt angry. Angry that Lily had exposed our private issues in public. Angry that Ian had not backed up my explanation better. Angry that everyone was looking at me like I was the problem. After the party, on the drive home, Ian and I did not speak. The kids fell asleep in the back seat. When we got home, Ian carried Ollie inside, and I brought Lily. We put them to bed in silence. Then Ian went to the guest room, and I went to our bedroom, and the house settled into the new normal of our separate lives under the same roof. I checked my phone before bed. River had sent a message asking how the family thing went. I told him it was awful, that my family did not understand what I was going through. He said that was because they were trapped in conventional thinking, and that eventually I would need to choose between their approval and my authentic self. I fell asleep, wondering if he was right, wondering if I would need to leave Ian completely to fully become who I was meant to be. What I did not know was that Ian had his phone out in the guest room, taking notes on everything that had happened at the party. Every public question from Lily, every enabling comment from my mother, every moment I had chosen to defend myself rather than consider the harm I was causing. He was building something, and I was too convinced of my own righteousness to see it coming. Sunday afternoon, Ian took the kids to the park. He asked if I wanted to come. I said no, that I had some blog posts to work on. The truth was, I needed space from the tension that had settled over our house like fog. After they left, I tried to write, but I could not focus. Every sentence felt hollow. I kept thinking about Lily's question at the party, about Owen's accusations, about the way Ian had looked at me with those empty eyes. I gave up on writing and scrolled through social media instead. River had posted a photo from one of his photography projects, a woman in silhouette against a sunset, caption reading, "Freedom is choosing yourself." I liked it and commented with a heart emoji. My phone rang. It was Jade. She said she wanted to check on me after yesterday. I said I was fine, just frustrated that my family did not understand. She said maybe the issue was not that they did not understand, but that they understood too well. I asked what that meant. She said it meant that from the outside, it looked like I had blown up my marriage for an affair and was now trying to rebrand it as a spiritual journey. I told her it was not rebranding, it was the actual truth. She said she hoped I was right, because I was risking a lot. My marriage, my kids' stability, my reputation, for something that might just be a midlife crisis wrapped in therapy language. I hung up angry. Even Jade was turning on me. That evening, Ian came home with the kids. Lily was carrying a small bouquet of dandelions she had picked at the park. She gave them to me and said Daddy had helped her pick the prettiest ones. I thanked her and put them in a glass of water, feeling a strange tightness in my chest. While I was making dinner, Ian's phone rang. He answered in the living room, speaking in a low voice. I heard fragments. "Yeah, I'm doing okay. Just taking it day by day. I appreciate you checking in." When he came back to the kitchen, I asked who that was. He said it was Marcus, his friend from college. I said I did not know he was still in touch with Marcus. Ian said they had reconnected recently. I asked why. He said because Marcus had noticed something seemed off when they ran into each other at the gym, and Marcus had offered to meet up and talk. I felt a spike of anxiety. Ian was building a support network. Ian was talking to people outside our immediate family. That meant the story was spreading. I asked what he told Marcus. Ian said he told him the truth, that we were going through a rough patch, because I had asked for a break and then spent that first night with my ex-boyfriend. He said it very matter-of-factly, without emotion, which somehow made it worse. I told him he had no right to share our private business with outsiders. He said Marcus was not an outsider. Marcus was his friend, and that I had shared our business with River and Jade and my entire Instagram following, so his boundaries around privacy were clearly different from mine. I did not know what to say to that. That night, after I put the kids to bed, I went to check on Ian in the guest room. The door was ajar, and I saw him sitting at the small desk with his laptop open and several binders spread out around him. When I pushed the door open, he quickly closed one of the binders. I asked what all that was. He said just organizing household documents. I asked why he needed so many binders. He said he liked to keep things organized. I asked if I could see. He said no, it was personal. I felt that cold fear again. I asked if he was planning something. He said he was always planning something. That was how responsible adults operated. I asked if he was planning to leave me. He said he was planning to protect himself and the kids, and that what I chose to do with that information was up to me. I left the room feeling shaken. The next morning, I had to run to the grocery store. I was in the checkout line when I saw Monica, Ian's sister. She worked as a paralegal for a family law firm, and I had always gotten along with her well enough, but we were not close. She spotted me and walked over, her expression tight. She asked how I was doing. I said I was fine. She said she had heard through the family that things were rough with Ian. I said we were working through it. She said she had talked to Ian on the phone yesterday, and he sounded broken. She said she had never heard him sound like that, not even when their father had a heart attack 2 years ago. She said he was hurting in a way that scared her. I said I was sorry he was struggling, but that sometimes healing was painful. She asked if I was seriously calling destroying my marriage healing. I said I was honoring my authentic self, and that if Ian could not grow with me, that was not my fault. Monica stared at me for a long moment. Then she said that Ian had asked her for recommendations for family law attorneys. She said she had given him 3 names, all excellent lawyers who specialized in custody cases. My stomach dropped. I asked why he would need a custody lawyer. She said I should probably ask him that myself. Then she paid for her groceries and left without another word. I stood in the checkout line, hands shaking, barely able to scan my items. When I got home, Ian was in the garage. I confronted him immediately, asking if he was really planning to fight me for custody of the kids. He said he was not planning to fight, he was planning to protect. I asked what the difference was. He said fighting meant both parties thought they deserved to win, but protecting meant only one party was actually putting the children first. I said I put the children first. He asked if I put them first when I left them to sleep with my ex-boyfriend, hours after asking for a break. He asked if I put them first when I came home after midnight without telling anyone where I really was. He asked if I put them first when I defended my affair as self-care in front of Lily at a family party. I told him he was twisting everything. He said he was not twisting anything. He was documenting it exactly as it happened, and the timeline spoke for itself. I asked what he wanted from me. He said he wanted me to be honest about who I was choosing, him and the kids, or River, and this fantasy version of freedom I had invented. He said I could not have both, and that the longer I pretended I could, the more damage I was doing to our children. I said he was being manipulative. He said he was being clear. Then he walked past me into the house. That evening, there was a parent-teacher conference at Lily's school. Both Ian and I had to attend. We drove separately and met in the school parking lot. Inside, we sat next to each other in tiny chairs, while Lily's teacher, Ms. Gardner, pulled out her folder of work samples and assessments. Ms. Gardner said Lily was a bright, sweet child, but that she had noticed some anxiety recently. She said Lily had been asking to call home during the day, that she had been crying more easily, that she seemed worried about things 5-year-olds should not have to worry about. Ian asked what kind of things. Ms. Gardner said Lily had asked several times if Ms. Gardner's mommy and daddy lived together, and if Ms. Gardner thought mommies always came home at night. She said it seemed like Lily was processing some big feelings about family and security. I felt my face burn with shame, but I tried to push it away. I said we were going through some family changes, but that it was all very normal and healthy. Ian said nothing. Miss Gardner said she was not here to judge family situations, but that she wanted us to know Lily was struggling and might benefit from some extra emotional support at home. She suggested we maintain consistent routines, ensure both parents were spending quality time with her, and perhaps consider talking to the school counselor. I said we would do that. Ian said he had already scheduled an appointment with the school counselor for next week. I looked at him surprised. He had not told me that. He had just gone ahead and done it, like he was making unilateral decisions now. After the meeting, in the parking lot, I asked Ian why he had not told me about the counselor appointment. He said he had tried to tell me, but I had been at Jade's, and then I had been busy with my blog, and then I had been out somewhere he did not ask about, and eventually he just made the appointment because someone needed to prioritize Lily's well-being. I told him I always prioritized Lily. He said my actions suggested otherwise. Then he got in his car and drove away. I sat in my car, crying, feeling the weight of everything crushing down on me. This was not how it was supposed to go. I was supposed to reclaim my power, and everyone was supposed to understand and support me. Instead, I was losing everything. My best friend's support, my brother's respect, my husband's love, my daughter's security. But I could not admit I was wrong. I had gone too far to turn back now. Admitting I was wrong would mean admitting I had destroyed my family for nothing. So I dried my eyes and drove to Jade's apartment. I told her I needed to stay there for a few nights. She hesitated but said, okay. I packed a bag and left while Ian was putting the kids to bed. I did not tell him I was leaving. I just left a note on the kitchen counter. Taking the space I need, we'll check in tomorrow. As I drove away, I looked back at the house and saw the light on in Lily's window. I wondered if she was asking Daddy where Mommy had gone again. I wondered if Ollie was crying for me. But I kept driving because admitting that I might be wrong was more terrifying than losing them. What I did not know was that Ian had seen me pack, had watched me leave, and had immediately texted Monica to confirm the name of the best family law attorney she knew. The countdown had started. I just did not know it yet. After 3 distant nights at Jade's, she urged the narrator to stop avoiding her marital limbo. The narrator returned home to an empty house. Ian had taken the kids out. She noticed he was settling into a permanent separation, having moved books and pictures into the guest room, which was becoming his room. In the garage, the narrator discovered 3 neatly labeled, sealed banker's boxes: Archive A, Archive B, and Financial, with a note, for legal purposes only. Do not open. She immediately confronted Ian, who said the boxes contained household records and that she no longer had the right to see them, claiming she had checked out of our family. The narrator asked if he was planning to divorce her. Ian confirmed he was considering all his options and evaluating what was best for him and the kids. When she suggested counseling, he reminded her she had rejected the idea 3 months ago. He gave her an ultimatum: either say she wants out or end things with River completely and commit to rebuilding trust. That night, the narrator heard Ian on the phone in the guest room, talking about a clear timeline and having everything organized. The next day, Monica intercepted the narrator in a parking lot and revealed that Ian had hired a very good, very thorough lawyer specializing in custody cases involving parental alienation and neglect. Monica detailed the evidence Ian had compiled. A text message to River where the narrator said, "Sometimes I wish I could go back to before kids. I feel like I disappeared when I became a mother." Timeline documentation of the narrator leaving the children to be with River. Witness statements describing the impact on their daughter, Lily. Monica warned the narrator that Ian would fight for custody to protect his children. Ian and the narrator later attended a school curriculum night where Ian appeared engaged and present, while the narrator felt numb. A parent praised Ian for volunteering, underscoring the narrator's own absence. On the drive home, Ian informed her of a meeting he had scheduled for Thursday at 3 o'clock at the courthouse plaza. He said they were going to make things clear and advised her to consider bringing a lawyer. Jade immediately suspected he was planning to serve her with divorce papers. The narrator called River, who dismissed it as an empty threat. That night, she heard Ian's printer running for several minutes. On Thursday, she drove to the courthouse plaza, still caught between denial and dread, telling herself they would talk things out. She had no idea she was about to lose everything. Courthouse Plaza, 4 p.m. Ian waited with Monica, recording, and Marcus, arms crossed. Grey-suited process server handed me the envelope. Petition for dissolution. Grounds: infidelity, abandonment of parental duties, temporary orders, Ian primary custody, my visits, supervised only, after 12-week parenting classes, joint accounts frozen, exhibits, AL, text to River, regret kids, choose myself, timeline of absences, witness statements, Marcus, Owen, Ms. Gardner, Ian's dad. Instagram, choose yourself post the day Lily cried at school. Ian, you chose River, I chose Lily and Ollie. Court agreed, temporarily. 30 days to respond, full hearing in 60. They walked away. Phones buzzed. Owen, you did this. Mom, call me. Jade, turn it around. Ian's Insta, him, please kids smiling, protecting what matters. At Jade's, I blocked River. Tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m., first supervised visit at Ian's dad's. 60 days to prove I can put my children first. Evidence, my own words. Hope, not enough. Action required.